Hello trainers! Recently, after pulling hard on the Kitasan Black banner, I've acquired 2 solid A rank horses and plenty of B plus horses that are insanely strong for PvP. With Umamusume's fanbase exploding recently, I wanted to make a quick Umamusume starter checklist guide, packed with useful and actionable tips for new players who want to optimize every run, and generally things that you should do to have better runs. So, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to improve your races before even starting them. So the first thing we're going to want to do before even starting a run is to make sure that we use that friend support card slot. So the easiest way to get this done is just to open your friends tab, click on the bottom right, filter by rarity, and you can refresh to look for good max copied supports. Another way to guarantee a max copied support is looking at PvP trials, and after you can come to the top right after you run a race and see all of the top people either from your class or globally, and see if any of them have a free following space so you can use any of their support cards. While doing this step, every day there is a friend slot for legacy horses. Legacy horses are horses that have already finished their career and can pass down additional stats and skills to the current horse you want to run with. You can also do the same steps to find very good inspirations and focus on using stamina and power inspirations, as you will be running 4 speed support cards anyways, with the additional 2 stamina or 2 wit based off of the character you are running. One more thing to mention during this section is the compatibility meter on the top. We want to aim for 2 circles to get the max stat increases during our inspirations. If you click on your legacies, then the button on the bottom right you can filter by affinity bonus and make sure you only use circle legacies if you can. And double circles are always the best. Never run triangle umas as they don't help with inspirations at all. The final thing we can do to improve a run before starting it is opening Gametora. This is a website that has tremendously helped in my runs as a beginner and even now to this day, and helps whenever I use different characters or different support cards. This one thing I recommend is the training event helper, where you can put your character, you can put your Euro Finals run, and all of your support cards and see what every option does when you hover over the scenario that you got. The link will be in the description with this exact tab open where you guys can fill out all of your characters instantly. Now that we've settled on all the things that can help you outside of your run, here are some tips and the roadmap for having more efficient choices inside of the run. Before you start your new run, we're going to want to have a goal. Do you want a better PvP UMA, or do you just want to pass the Euro Finals? The Euro Finals have a lot more leniency with stamina stats, and most of these runs can easily be beatable with only 600 speed and 450 power. If you already beat the Euro Finals, your main objective is what can you do aside from just winning the Euro Finals. If you want better horses in the long run, you can work on that. If your main goal is just to have fun and run these horses, you should play however you like. Even just playing to get higher rating or better legacy horses for your other runs are clear-cut goals that help and let you have more fun in the future. So now that we have a goal, before we start the run, let me explain what each stat does. Speed increases your top speed of a horse, which is obvious enough, but in order for your horse to accelerate to top speed, they have to use the power stat. But this only applies if they have enough stamina for the last spurt of the race. Your skill activation is affected by wisdom or wit. And guts is more of a very passive stat and doesn't really do much this patch. But this will change in the future after the first anniversary, but for now we will not have to worry about that. It's really good that guts is a weak stat at the moment, so when we start off we only have to worry about speed, stamina, strength, and wisdom. For our priorities with these stats, it's usually to get as much speed as possible. As I said before, just clearing over 600 to 700 speed can easily win runs, but we want to aim for as close as we can get to 1200, and most of this will depend on support cards, so don't feel too pressured as your speed will be increased over time with more runs. Then we focus on stamina. Stamina and power are sort of equal to each other, as running lots of speed passively will increase your power, so you can definitely do more stamina training to try and balance it out. Even though wisdom is last on our list, it's still an important stat as it affects your skill activation. You only need usually around 300 to 400 per run anyways, which you will get if you follow these next tips. So now that we have learned all of the basics, let's talk about the main tips we should know when starting a run. The first year. As you start a new run, your first year should purely be going for as much support cards on the top right during that training. If you can get as many support cards as you can to orange, In order to unlock special priority and get more rainbows during your run, if you can get every support card to orange before your first run ends, you will clearly be set for the next 2 years, as you will be getting way more increased stats during your second and third year. The second best tip I can give you is the concept of how to manage your energy. Even though we want to spam and slam the speed button as much as we can, we only have so much limited energy to do so. If we ever get past the 50% mark of energy, that's when we get introduced to fail rates. Usually when failing, it can cost upwards of up to 3 more turns to get the energy back, recover, and start training again. We want to avoid this at all costs, as the cost of failing outweighs the missed training and just recovering energy. In this failure meter, I usually only go for as close as 10% if possible, and only doing the occasional 15 to 20% if it's a training day with 2 or more rainbows. And if I know the events such as New Year's is coming, which gives energy every New Year's if you select the correct option, which you'll find if you use Gametora, there is really no point in gambling upwards of 60 to 70% chance of failure even with multiple rainbows, as just failing can ruin the entire run. And even if you do win, you still have 0 energy and can miss out on better training days in the next turns afterwards. So now that we got into this failure training topic, it is very important to mention that you should try and avoid taking rest days as much as possible, as they generally don't do anything and that's time that we could have used for training. Now you're probably asking, how can we avoid this? There's a lot of nuance to this, so I'll probably cover this in another video purely on high efficient management runs, but as this is a beginner's guide, the main consensus and safe measures for almost all situations is to ask yourself, if you train here, can you train in the next round? Especially in early game, as if you can't train the next round, it would be smarter to take a wisdom training, as it could reset your chances of getting multiple supports in one training and stall your rest while having the chance to get random events. Now, on the topic of random events, always choose energy recovery unless you are somehow full on energy. This will help the longevity of your runs and just increase the quality of your runs as you get free energy without using a rest day. For example, a very common random event is when your horse asks if she can keep training. The bottom answer will always give you more energy as it tells your Uma to just rest for another day. These will stack up. Stall your rest days so you get better training days, and is generally the biggest lifesaver. Also, big recovery events usually happen. You'll usually get one in every of your New Year's resolution events, every New Year's visit, and the New Year's after your second year, you will always get a random item that can give you energy and boost your stats. Keeping these in mind during your runs will help tremendously. So one more topic I wanted to get into is the motivation meter. You always want it as high as possible and to keep it as high for as long as you can. Based off of your motivation, here are the following buffs or debuffs. In order from great, good, normal, bad, and awful, all of these status effects will either boost your training by 20%, 10%, 0%, minus 10%, or minus 20%. Some support cards have built-in options that will always increase your mood, but usually at the beginning of a run, if you have no good support stack options and you don't have max energy, you can usually take an outing day in which you can either get a karaoke date, which will give you 2 mood effects and 0 stamina, or you get another random outing which increases your mood effect by 1 and only gives around 10 to 30 energy. Which if you don't get the karaoke mood event, as long as you're not in the yellow, you can choose based off the situation if you want to continue playing with good motivation until a random event or support card event can increase your mood naturally, or going on another outing to hit max mood. Both of these are fine uses as long as they are contextually good to do. One more last minute advice I can give before we pretty much gone through everything. A couple of horses you might train have that very annoying long race. Career races that they have to do in order to get to the Aura finale. My advice is if you don't have the correct stamina requirement for these races, like Kikasho in your second year or Tenosho in your third year, I used to struggle with getting Mihono Bourbon passing her final career race. You can put your runner in the late position as long as your speed and power stats are good enough to pass everyone at the end. Moving to the late or end closer position respectively adds around 150 stamina to 100 stamina to your horse, which can easily help gain a second or third position for these career ending races. Do not make the same mistake I did by spam training stamina to get to the stamina requirement and absolutely getting dusted in the speed aspect. Train your speed, and if you get to these races, go to a later position to make your 400 stamina into the 600 stamina requirement you need, and even better, buy a couple of energy recovery blue skills which increase your stamina stat as well. In no situation will you ever need to hard focus stamina at all. Your main focus should be speed, and if you play your cards correctly and train with 2 stamina cards, you can pass your requirements, no questions asked. Other ways you can cheese runs is if it says there's not enough stamina, like I said, go to a later position. If it tells you that you got blocked or your horse couldn't break through traffic, there's most likely too many horses in front of you. Try the front runner position. If it says not enough speed, your race is most likely officially over. These are all of my tips and checklists you must follow in order to efficiently clear your goals and become better trainers, and also obtain better horses. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all of your time. If you want me to make a more detailed guide on legacy sparks or how to make a PvP Uma, let me know. But for now, if you want to know what we should do after the Kitasan Black banner, here is a video explaining exactly that. Thank you guys all for the support, and I'll see you guys later.